Welcome to EyeOpener, powered by Siemens. And now, your host, Gugan Sanger.
Hello and welcome to EyeOpener, powered by Siemens. On today's episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Ryan Falcini, Business Development Professional at Siemens, where we are going to be discussing what makes a good PdM project versus a bad PdM project. So big welcome to Ryan. If you could start off by introducing yourself to our audience, that would be great.
Thank you, Gugan. So as you said, I'm Ryan Falcini, Business Development Professional, and been with Siemens for just over a year since the integration, but been a part of the Senseye predictive maintenance organisation for close to 4 years. So when I first joined, I was very much in the sales development representative role, where I would look to qualify opportunities, look to engage prospects on their interest in predictive maintenance. And the longer I've been with the organisation, the more I've been involved in the development of opportunities from the start to the end, and also going into project management. So with regards to what makes a good project versus a bad project, been able to get more exposure and experience from my time being at Senseye and working with other colleagues who have also been involved.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining me on today's episode. And I guess let's get straight into the whole topic.
Yeah.
So the first question I have really is around how would someone come about starting their PdM journey?
Well, the first thing a person or organisations will need to consider is what is predictive maintenance going to solve? So what is the challenge? What is the pain point precisely that they have? And not only that pain point, but it's being able to quantify it, because it's all good and well saying yes, we have a lot of planned maintenance or we have a lot of unplanned downtime. But if you don't know the numbers behind it, and that will help to really quantify the issue and really expose the size of the problem. Because for any organisation, you need to justify why you're going to do a project, why you're going to invest in this. So when it comes to really understanding, that size of the problem, that's going to be the biggest portion of work that's going to be needed for them. But it's essential that they do that. That will be the beginning phase that they will take to begin that predictive maintenance journey.
Okay. And do you believe, from your personal experience, when someone does approach you to start their journey, is the main reason for them wanting to start based on the fact that they want to fix an issue that they're facing?
Sometimes, yes. I think this kind of builds into that good and bad. So there'll be some people who really have a problem. That they'll come and say, we've been getting killed by the amount of unplanned downtime. It's crippling our production, and we need to solve this problem. So those would be the good ones, where the pain point is just so intense and so just unbearable that they can't move forward with the way that they're currently operating. Some of the bad ones, predictive maintenance is kind of like a vanity project. It's a really cool, snazzy idea. Yeah, the best way to put it. And when you say about the size of the problem, they can't answer that question openly. And in terms of a red flag, and when you're having those initial conversations, that would become quite apparent then. So, what I would do is look to just try and probe and tease that out and see if there is a true understanding of what the problem is. Because like I said, yes, they can say, oh yeah, we do have downtime. Okay, but tell me about the size of the problem. Where is it specifically impacting you? Yeah. Or the planned maintenance, why is that such a big problem? Really looking to ask and tease that out of people is essential.
Yeah, I guess the more information you know, the better.
Exactly. And
you need to do a deeper dive into all of that information, so you can actually determine what steps they need to take and what needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I want to do, is be able to ensure that when and if they begin the project, it will be successful. So, scoping it, probing them for those questions it's just a part of that process.
I guess that takes me into the next question around, what makes a good PdM project versus a bad PdM project. And from your experience, Ryan, you'll be able to answer that in terms of experiences that you faced. And it'll be really, really interesting to see what that looks like from your perspective.
Sure. So I think I could go on this for about a good couple of hours. If I was to highlight, say, five areas, 5 topics that would be really important between a good and bad project, the first and most important one I would say is people. People are essential to this. Having an organisation that can devote the resources to predictive maintenance, to be able to give that time, be willing and open to learning, and also not stand there on the sideline. I think it's really important, because from our side and delivering the projects, there's only so much we can do. We can't get the customer to just sit on the sideline and watch us, doing the hard work, doing the hard labour. It needs to be a collaboration, and the good projects, that the people will understand that it's 50% from them, it's 50% from us, and we're meeting in the middle. And like I said, with the resources, they will have a good understanding of the resources that will be needed, making the resources available. But also, within organisations, people will leave. People will, there'll be changes in roles. So some people may come and go, and it's also being able to allow people to be able to come in, to be able to fit into that project, and people wanting to, really adopt that change management, to adopt new process, to be able to learn. So from that people perspective, it's super important to have the right people involved in projects. And I think if you speak to any delivery engineer within our organisation, they would say people will make their life easier, or they'll make their life hell.
Yeah.
The second part is the business case. Building a really good business case helps deliver that success criteria. It helps establish that success criteria a lot easier. So when it comes to measuring the impact of the project and the value that the project has brought, if you've built a really solid business case, you'll be able to identify and be able to determine that, say, in 12 months' time, after that first 12 months, on what value have we seen, have we delivered this success, have we achieved it, yes or no. And that comes in that pre-project kind of scoping, and back to that initial that initial, when they're beginning the journey, that's where it's so important to do it then, because it's a big factor in a project being successful, and also actually beginning the project. Whereas there's projects that have been done before where when it comes to actually building that business case, and the organisation have thought they've calculated the business case correctly, we actually delivered the success well. But when it came to, reflecting and reviewing, like, while we did hit the targets, that business case wasn't built properly, and it wasn't delivering the value that it should have. So that's where, identifying that value and benefit before, and what predictive maintenance can actually bring to an organisation, is essential.
Yeah.
Third is going to be high-level sponsorship. And initiatives that are pushed from top down are always more powerful. They're always more likely to be adopted. People are likely to be on board with it, and from a cultural perspective, if it's coming from the top down into the organisation, it's more likely to be able to stick, and people to really take it in. But also when it comes to I would say not only the initial deployment, but when you're looking to scale a project, the high level sponsor will be able to help negotiate the political boundaries of different sites, and enable you to be able to connect with the right people when you go from site to site. And in terms of that high level management, they can be your champion, they can be an extension of you within that organisation. And that's always important to have, because when you think about some of these huge organisations, you're not gonna be able to meet everyone, but they will have those relationships established. So if you can have an extension of yourself from a high level sponsorship, that's doing a lot of your hard work and makes your life so much easier. Fourth would be the project size and duration, and this is probably one that I come across a lot, in the sense of when I'm having these initial discussions, people will say to me, and I'll say to them, what size are you looking to begin with? Like how many machines, how many assets would you look to begin with? And the good ones were always, they're thinking big picture. They're thinking we need a representative sample that will be able to show that the people to say proof of concept. I prefer proof of value, because proof of value, we know the concept of the solution works. We've delivered it with multiple customers. But the proof of value for that organization, are they seeing value in this? Is it making an impact on their day-to-day work? When you have a good enough size and you have a large sample size, it's going to impact your day-to-day work, how you do your maintenance processes, how you do your activities. Whereas a small sample size, it's not gonna change anything. But if you're a maintenance user and you're just monitoring 5 assets, what is that going to do to your day-to-day work? It's not going to really impact it. And on the topic of size as well, the more assets you monitor, the more likely you're going to see failure, the more likely you're going to see degradations from those assets. So the larger the sample size, the increase in probability of that value being delivered, and that's what we want to do with that initial project, that initial kind of deployment that we begin with. And then from a duration size, minimum 12 months, and it's essential to do it over 12 months, because the first 3 to 6 months you're really setting that foundation for a good project, and it's really important that customers understand it, and the good ones do. Because those foundations will enable you to be able to scale. It will enable you to grow it across that whole plant, but then within the organization, using like a specified methodology, which I can explain a bit more about later. But those foundations are set over the first 3 to 6 months, and yes, you will see some initial value, but over that 12-month period, and when you go into like kind of 24, like 2-3 year period, that's when the predictive maintenance will really start to come through. That value becomes more evident from the sense of planned maintenance, being able to influence that, and the shutdowns that companies would have from spare parts inventories. That's going to become more evident, over a 12, 24-month period. So in terms of duration, they need to think about this more long-term. There needs to be a long-term strategic objective to the predictive maintenance deployment. And then the fifth and final, will be a technical understanding. So what we mean by this is like a customer understanding what's a good sensor versus a bad one. I was actually speaking with one of the engineers a few days ago, and he did also mention this, where a good customer will understand, like with a good sensor you'll be able to get certain frequencies. That basically just means we can detect data more specifically depending on the frequency. But then I think also from a technical understanding, when we're going into projects, organizations who understand what data is there and what kind of failures they're experiencing, it will be able to allow us to really assess where any gaps are, and if there are potentially any red flags, we can do that then. And if they're normally quite open, transparent, the good ones. The bad ones would be where they don't really understand, but they want to begin the project. And when you do begin that project and you're looking to identify relevant data and potential failures, if there's that massive gap, then it delays that onboarding, and it delays the time that they're able to get value. So if they're able to do this prior to the project, and they need to, they'll be able to see value from PdM, predictive maintenance, a lot quicker.
To find out more, search Senseye Predictive Maintenance.